Yeah, and
time.
she's the one cussing.
Yeah, she was. Well, once Dr. Dovek did, I'm like, open season. Yep, I can do whatever I want.
That's what I want. So
she's a cusser. She's a cursor.
Yes.
But it's fun because I'm from New York, so I curse all the time. It's in casually, you know.
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm just like naturally talking. Like it's never like it's just like
it's just conversation. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we are going to pause for just like 5 seconds, and then Melanie will bring us in. We'll kind of chat about that we're talking to you today, and then we'll bring you in. You say hi to everybody, and then we can start the episode.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay. All right.
And that means all of us have to be quiet. I'm gonna put my thing down very
as
slowly.
You make noise.
There we go. Like, welcome back, OSLP family.
Welcome.
This is our Sleep Life podcast, and this is Mel.
And I'm Kellie.
And we are gonna have a fun episode today.
Oh goodness. Are we gonna have fun? I'm so excited to get like all these questions answered.
I know
that we have been just like racking our brain about,
just dying to ask. Like we've talked to another dietitian too. It's just like questions start coming up even after that episode.
Yes.
So you're like, oh, we got another one. We got another dietitian we can ask questions to.
Exactly. So we are really excited to announce that we have Jana on the podcast today. I don't know. I just paused. I just like, So we have Jana Wolff on the podcast, and she is a registered dietitian, and she also has a company called the BariBox. And so we're going to learn about that, and we're going to ask her all these questions. And I hope you're ready for this, Jana. So
I think I am.
Okay. All right. So welcome to the podcast, Jana. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I love podcasts in my own personal life. And so being on one is thrilling to say the least. And
Yay!
I am, and also I should congratulate you guys on your 1-year anniversary.
Thank you.
Very exciting. And guess what? BariBox is also celebrating their 1-year anniversary very soon as well. So,
oh my gosh.
Awesome. Schedule. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, that milestone is just crazy because you're like, I can't believe it's been a year.
Yes. And we were talking about it last night because we did our first live episode last night. And it's so crazy to think how far we came from like just this like random idea into this.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
It's crazy. And some people, I don't know if people know that, but Jana was part of the weight loss extravaganza.
Yes.
Yeah, baby.
It was really cool.
It was one of the coolest events we've ever done. And like in the past because I'm part of the comprehensive obesity management program in Baltimore, Maryland. So I'm the director of nutrition there. And I've been there for a good like 5 years with Dr. Dovek and Dr. Bello, and we've had the best time. And on top of all that, every single year we get to celebrate patients and us too, like our whole program. We get to just celebrate in person. But of course, in this year of the pandemic, going on more than a year, we had to get creative. And Betsy gets super creative. Betsy's the most creative. So she came up with this idea of doing it all online and pulling all these amazing people, including you guys.
Yeah.
I know. And you know, it was just something that I've never seen before or never been a part of. And it really highlighted like thousands of people. And we got like, I don't even know how many people actually tuned in at the end, but I think we got like 170,000 people. It was ridiculous.
Holy crap.
That's
oh my
nuts.
God. I know. Not to like, you know, toot our own horn, but guys, we did a good job. All of us.
Yes. Toot away, my friend.
Yes. Yeah. That was like, I remember watching our video come on, and we were just like screaming. We were so excited. We were just like, oh my gosh, is this really happening right now? Because
it was,
who would have thought? Who would have thought?
I know.
Oh yeah. I was just going to say, like, I just didn't believe, it's nice to see like a whole nother, you guys are across the you guys are across, the United States, and you guys were still willing to take people that were over here and show their experiences and their story. And it was just like, oh, these people care. Like these people really care about us. And this is really cool to see.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's so cool that like across the US, we all have this shared experience, you know? I and I'll be completely honest, I did not get the surgery. I'm not a dietitian who got the surgery. However, I did see my first dietitian when I was in 7th grade. And I had eating issues of my own, and especially weight management issues, all throughout my entire life. And I actually, in all honesty, I follow a very similar diet to the bariatric diet, where you know, high protein, low-ish, moderate carbs, and eating your protein first, and really practicing mindfulness when you're eating, and you know, high fluids, etc. You know, you guys
yeah. No, we're on the same page.
And so in that realm, it's like I sort of share this experience with everyone, in that, you know, maintaining your weight losses is one of those things that, you know, nobody can really take away from you. And worked so hard for it. And when you can share and empathize in that, and you have this whole community across the entire US, it's an amazing thing. So I love really being part of the bariatric community.
Yes, it's one of the best communities I have ever experienced. Like, everybody's so positive, and even when they're having negative moments, like, they're still positive. It's just insane. And like, when I'm having a bad day, I just go on there and I just instantly am like smile, seeing all of the faces and like how well everybody's doing. It's just, it's great. It's a great community.
Well, I like how like honest it is, because you see people post like when they're not having good days. It's great because that's real, because we're real people. Like, we're not, this isn't Hollywood over here. Like, we all got into this situation for X, Y, and Z, and we still have problems. So
yes.
Right. So it's an entirely shared experience.
And I think no matter, you know, to kind of pull on what you said of like, you didn't have the surgery, but you're still a part of the community. Like, you know what we're going through. You know how hard we have to work to get there. And so I love that even people like, and one of our favorite followers, like, she's been with us from the very beginning.
Patty.
Yeah, she didn't have surgery either. But she absolutely, like, we adore her. She's so motivating. Like, even this morning, she messaged me at 6 a.m. It was like, okay, time to get up, time to do your yoga. And I was like,
I saw that you did yoga this morning. Very proud. Very proud.
Thank you. So I was like, okay, I got to get up. I got to do this. Like, as you know, because everybody says like how motivating we are, but it's like, no, you guys motivate us more than anything. To get our butts up and get moving and do these things. So it's a great community.
And even being a dietitian in this community, you almost feel a sense of purpose and responsibility to also keep yourself healthy, and to, you know, and for me, you know, once you are at a certain weight and you are struggling with that weight, and you might even be in like the obese category of BMI or whatever,
right?
It becomes a thing that you have to deal with for the rest of your life, because obesity is in a way a condition. And even if you lose weight, you still have to maintain it. It's like, even if you don't have diabetes anymore, you still have to manage that and maintain it. So I completely understand whether you lose weight without surgery or not, it's still, you know, struggle central, because every single moment is really a choice, you know? And
I love that.
I really love that. Every moment is a choice. That's pretty darn perfect.
I'm gonna just put Jana right afterwards. Every moment.
I need to grab a pen and paper and write that down, actually, because that's fantastic.
Do it. Because Dr. Dovak, she told us to read the Subtle Art
of Not Giving an F.
Yes. So, and that actually, they talk about that, the whole choice thing. I think I just read that in chapter 5 or 6. So it's a whole thing.
The problem with choice, I want to talk about this for a second. Is that okay?
Yeah, we do side stuff all the time.
Okay. Side note. The problem with choice is that sometimes our subconscious will sort of like lead us in whatever direction, because when you eat, and I'm just talking about food in general.
Okay.
Things that are high fat, high sodium, high sugar, they produce like these really nice, awesome, chemicals in our brain, like
dopamine, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you feel like you've almost like accomplished something when you eat these foods.
Yeah, and you feel good.
You feel good. So when you're presented with that choice and maybe you're stressed or you're like, oh, whatever, that subconscious will say, let's go, let's eat it. So that's where I talk to everyone about never, ever relying on willpower. Willpower doesn't exist. Okay.
Okay.
So we have to shift it over to skill power. You have to have the skills that you have the food on hand, so that, even if your subconscious is telling you to eat XYZ, well, maybe you don't even have it on hand anymore. So you're going for something else that's already made for you. And then sometimes, you can make that decision, but then you make the next best choice after that.
That's great.
I like that.
I'm obsessed with that whole conversation that statement that you just made. Like, that's exactly it.
It rings true, because we just talked about on the live podcast of like how like food triggers. Like I just can't go to Arby's anymore. Like, it's a whole food trigger. If I get upset and angry, I want to go have like the curly fries.
Yeah.
And I used to work at Arby's when I was 16 to like 18 and whatever. And I realized that, like, when I was having problems at home, I would eat Arby's. So now it's still happening in my 30s. And I'm like, I just can't go there. I just like, that just has to be a place that I just don't go anymore. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist in my world.
But that old pathway in your brain is still there. It's not used as much, but it's still there for when. So when you are stressed, we fall back on those old pathways. So that's not a surprise to me at all.
No, I can feel it in my bones. I'm like, oh, I want fries. Like it's instant. Right. It's like, I'll just be crying for whatever reason. I'd be like, oh, fries. Because anybody's like, what can I do to help you?
Fries.
And so that pathway is fully there, and it's never going to go away. I just have to like manage it.
And mine's is sweets. When I'm upset, I want cake. Like, that's just what, like, my brain is like, cake. And it's that same thing. Like, I just cannot have it in the house. I can't have stuff in the house to make anything. Like, it has to stay out, because I won't go and get it.
Right.
Like,
and that's the best part of the skill power idea, is that if it's not there, you're 9 times out of 10, you're not going to go out and get it.
Right.
Yeah. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, 20 minutes after the craving, it'll likely go away.
That's what I hear. The 20-minute rule.
It's that 20 minutes sucks.
But you know what though? Okay. I did an experiment last night, knowing that I was coming on here.
Okay.
So I get into these ruts of eating at night. Okay. Anyone know that one? Don't answer. Yep. I know that everyone does.
Yeah.
So after dinner, okay, my mom and I call it the dinner that lasts till bedtime. And it's like, okay. So if you're in that rut, then the minute that you just say, you know what, I'm gonna push through this, because I did eat enough today. Let's say you did eat enough. There's a difference between not eating enough and then wanting the snacks at night, and then eating enough during the day and being like, well, wouldn't that be nice to have something else? And if it's that kind of thing, and you can sort of sit back and say, what's going on here? Then waiting the 20 minutes is very challenging, and it's almost painful.
Yeah.
But after the 20 minutes and drinking some water and just like kind of chilling and relaxing, you actually will forget about it. You will forget about it, and to a point where you won't even actually feel any hunger.
Oh, I've done it. I know what you're talking about.
I mean,
if it's up here, then you don't actually physically need anything.
Right.
Yeah. And we were actually just talking about that, because we're both on Phetermine now. And we were actually at the store, and everything, I'm not even kidding you. Like, we turned the corner, I'm like, ooh, muffins.
It was weird. I was like,
bread. Like, I'm not like that normally. And so I was like, it's weird, because I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry because of the Phetermine, but my head is telling me, ooh, muffins sound really good. I would grub down on some bread right now. Like, I didn't buy any of it, thank God, but it's still there.
You can be physically not hungry and still starving.
Yes. Oh, I would agree with that.
Oh, I'd like to get into that, but I also, this is what I do here. I keep us on track. So I would like to.
Oh my God, I will drive off the cliff. Like,
yeah,
I love it. I love
That's why we have her.
Yes, I will bring you back from the cliff and we'll go right back to it a little bit later.
Yes.
So because I'm curious, I'd like to know, like, how did you get into being a dietitian? What made you want to be a dietitian? How did that all happen?
Chronic dieting, feeling absolutely terrible about myself. Growing up in the 80s in New York, where thinness meant value. Everyone's saying something about my body, you know, anytime I would see them. And if they didn't say something about my body, I knew that I had gained. You know, that's those types of things. And then also just like from that experience, and then also, you know, when I saw my first dietitian and I sort of started to like learn how to eat, like, you know, I didn't need to starve myself. Okay. There was actually a moment right after this actually lasted through college. Right after my last day of college, when I didn't study nutrition at first, I studied communications.
Okay.
Wellness field for employee wellness. And I worked with like grocery stores, employees and insurance employees, and all of these people to work on weight management, fitness, quitting smoking, stress, etc.
Oh yeah, we have that. I know you're okay.
Yeah, so that's what I used to do, and then I was like, I want to become more specialized in the nutrition field. But I knew that I wanted to work within weight management specifically. When I went to, I did my studies at Johns Hopkins and my internship there, and when I was there, I did a lot on bariatric surgery. So we did like studies there, and it was really fun. And I was like, oh, okay. So I like the fact that people aren't constantly failing, you know, and being told that you have to be on a very strict diet and all of this kind of stuff. I like that there's some flexibility, but some boundaries.
Yeah. Physical boundaries go a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I will say that, you know, it took me, like being a dietitian was my second career. So I learned a lot in the wellness field, and I learned a lot about communicating with people, being on a team, like understanding people in general, you know, what they want to hear and how to actually make them listen to me.
I like that.
I like it.
Yeah. Cause I mean, not everybody who goes into a registered dietitian is going to actually listen and like hear what you're saying. They may like nod and they may be like off in la la land, or they're like, oh yeah, I'm not doing that. Even if they're like, oh yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
In their head, they know.
Well, as a dietitian, just to piggyback on what you said, as a dietitian, you learn how to not think of what you're saying next.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Yeah. That's a bigger problem, just I noticed with communication in general, is people have like, they can't listen if they're already preparing for their comment.
Totally.
So, because I learned that too in my communications class, and I was like, oh, that makes more sense. And like how sometimes I'll watch people talk to each other, and it's almost like they're having two different conversations because
like they're battling.
Yeah. It's like no one's actually listening to each other and then giving each other like real, like constructive, like feedback or whatever it is. You're like, oh, one's talking about baseball and one's talking about basketball, and they don't realize it's two different sports right now.
Yes.
Like it's ridiculous.
Yes. And sometimes that can happen. Like I will talk, because I see thousands of patients during the year. Like there are certain people that you just can't, you know, really bond with and make sure that you're both listening to each other. That's why there are so many dietitians out there, so that you can pick and choose who you like, you know?
Yeah.
I work with a couple of dietitians on Instagram. We all agree like, oh, certain people are just better for this type of person, you know?
Yeah.
And That's why it's really great as a patient, you can pick and choose who your dietitian is. You'll get one in your program usually, but then afterwards you can sort of, venture out. I don't mind when, our patients see other dietitians, especially if I know them. I'm like, yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot about how you can really just pick and choose who your doctors and nurses and dietitians and.
Yeah. Cause I mean, really, she went to her surgeon because her brother went there.
Yeah.
And my surgeon was just, my rheumatologist referred me there. So we didn't know that we had a choice.
Yeah, we thought we just had to go jump through all these hoops, to get to the doctors.
Our offices are great.
Yeah.
So we lucked out. But I mean, we are learning through this process that you can shop around. You can try and find somebody that's more on your wavelength.
Yes.
Including with dietitians.
Yeah. I've definitely, I take patients on the side, whenever I have time, and I've definitely seen patients from all different programs. And what's nice is that generally the recommendations are very similar across the board of, what you should be practicing on a daily basis as a patient. So it's like, I can take what they've learned and basically say like, okay, this works for you. Maybe this doesn't work. And we can meet somewhere in the middle.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah. It's not so like, this is it, or, it's not black and white.
Yeah.
There's there's wiggle room. Yeah.
It's not, because people are very fluid and flexible. So, and look, we just had Easter, we had Passover, we had, we had quarantine, we had all this different stuff going on. So when you're presented with these different outward situations, like your routine might be completely different and change, and you need to be able to be flexible with those routines and changes. I usually tell my patients, like, if you're going to go to Easter dinner or lunch or whatever, make sure at least at the bare minimum, you're getting your fluid in. That's get that down pat, get the fluid in. Okay. Have the bottle next to you. I don't care who you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you call my husband and be like, hey, so I heard you're not drinking water.
Eric, your wife just called you out. Yep. I love it.
I love it. I
feel bad for him because I learn all this stuff all the time. I'm just spewing information at him, and I think he's getting to the point where I don't care anymore. You can tell me that it's gonna grow me another leg, and I'm gonna be a really fast person, and I don't care.
And she has I come over and I'm like, Eric, how's your water?
Yeah.
You know what? So, this is my recommendation. Just instead of telling him, just have him tell you. So for instance, I like nutrition and I talk about it a lot. I tell my husband things, He was the one who noticed my body language when I have what I call my blackout moments, where I'm just overeating, mindless eating, sit down, stop. And he actually helps me when I need the extra help.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, you can show them, hey, I need help during these situations. Remind me to drink my fluid. Remind me to eat my protein first. Remind me to take it. So then you can use them, because now they already know everything because you taught them everything.
Oh, I like this idea.
That's perfect for you guys.
He's great at that stuff. He'll help me. I just with anything. So I'm gonna try that.
I'm you can see Melody being oh, how can I do this?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got a plan already brewing up here.
That is great advice. Great advice. So speaking of blackout moments of overeating, and we're talking about quarantine, and we're, you've got all these different things that are happening, and you may be stressed out. You may be having, a lot of things go on in your life where it's changing, like you said. How would you recommend pulling yourself out of that and kind of returning back to the original plan?
Okay. So first, always making contact with your surgical team, whether it's a nurse practitioner or a dietitian. I think that keeping in contact with them is just one point of accountability that might be nice for you. That could be one step. And then also just knowing what your plan is, because I can't tell you how many people I talk to that are I know what I need to do. I just am not doing. I'm like, well, what do you need to do? Like, let's talk about that, and let's jot it down and pick maybe one, maybe two things that you are absolutely ready to do. Because it's not when you're like, when you're in a cloud and you're like, I need to really get back on track, going 100% back to where you were when you were perfect and in the honeymoon phase and in the whatever, that might not be realistic at that very moment. So if you can accomplish like the 1 to 2 things that you're 100% ready to do and that you're confident you can accomplish, like, you know, your yoga in the morning, if you could do that maybe twice a week, like that's great. Start right there, because this is not a race. This is not a race. Okay. So get back there step by step and then be more consistent and have some faith in ourselves and trust that one slip is not a slide, you know, and that you can come right back. You can.
How much time would you put in between your steps? So say you picked like, you know, like I'm going to do yoga and I'm going to do that, you know, 2 or 3 times a week. And that's my goal for the next, like, how long would you put in between?
Right.
You making the next step. Yeah.
Okay. Right. And that might change that goal. So like you can say, okay, for the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to do XYZ. And you can reevaluate at that 2 to 3 weeks and say, you know what, I'm happy with what I'm doing right now. Let me just continue with this, or let me add one more thing. Like, I know I'm not getting my multivitamins in. Let me just do that. Start doing that again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I'm thinking like, you know, there are probably the people that are like, what about, you know, 21 days to form a habit and blah, blah, blah. But like, I'm sorry, but like, some people it takes like 180 days to form a habit. So it's
it's true. It's so
21
true.
days. I'm like, okay. Like,
like what's bad?
Yeah.
What's this magical number of 21 days?
Yeah.
That's just because I think that just comes from the rehab centers, right? For the whole
and right. Yeah. Right. And I was like doing this at home with my husband and his fraternity brothers. They did like a weight loss challenge. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm going to start writing down what I eat. I'm going to start logging what I eat, because I felt as though, I felt as though I stepped on the scale and I had gained a good 12 pounds during quarantine. So I was like, okay, it's time. It's time. You know, I'm going to use that as objective information. I'm not going to use it as like a, you know, evaluation of my character. And I'm just going to, you know, jot down what I'm eating. And I did that for 21 days, but it did not become a habit.
No.
Why is logging your food so hard?
It's very tedious. It's very tedious. It's not natural. So, and especially if you're trying to like practice mindfulness, it's like, and then you're like writing down everything, and then you're calculating, you're like, oh, well, I have 300 more calories left. Like, let me grab the thing so I could eat that. And, you know, like I been there. So you, and in all reality, like maybe if you weren't logging, you wouldn't have had that extra 300 calories because you didn't know.
Yeah.
Not natural. But it gives us this amazing data. Wouldn't it be so cool if like we could invent a product that everything you eat, it shows up on like a
scorecard. Yeah. Like a cheat sheet. Yeah.
Like we need like a chip, like
no, too far. Nope.
A chip in like your tongue or your cheek or something. So we're like, as soon as you eat the food, like it calculates the weight of it and how much you consumed, and like just gives you
over your calories. Like if you need to exercise a little bit more. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No. And it like connects to your phone and like it gives you alerts that says like you've gone over your calorie limit today.
You know, and then we finally know like the absorption stuff. Like that'd be a thing.
Yes.
I only say too far because I'm scared of robots taking over. And if I put a chip inside of me that's going to calculate stuff, that's like the first step of Armageddon.
I mean, it would make it so much easier though.
It would. I'm a data girl. Like I'm an accounting degree. I love numbers to death. Like,
but she hates robots.
And we all hate logging our food. So
So we have to find a happy medium.
I know.
And that's a chip in your tongue or your cheek.
And
can I just lick something and then that registers it? So then I don't have to have it in my body.
No.
There you go. Elon Musk, figure it out.
We'll put that on the list.
This is what we need next, people.
Yes.
After a COVID vaccine, we need this.
We need this. Yes, we'll call Dr. Fauci. We'll get it done. Okay.
Yes, I think that's a good plan for us.
Perfect. I think, going back to like, how can you get restarted and feel like you have some form of like structure and some boundaries for yourself and just like have some routine. Even if you wanted to sometimes I'll tell my patients, like, just do one day, like just log your food for one day or 2 days, and you can just send it to me or take some pictures of your food and send it to me. And I like that, where it's a little bit looser and you feel like you can do it. You don't have to download the app and like figure out your recipes and all of this. If we could just get even like a roundup of what you're eating and say, oh, okay, maybe we could just like sliver off some of these things and you'll be a lot better,
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot more sense. And it's a lot more manageable. Like you said, you're not like, oh, I have to log my food for the rest of my life. Like,
No.
That's very daunting when you think about it. And I think that's why it's so hard to like get back on plan, because the thought of getting back on plan is so daunting.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much to it.
Yeah. Well, you just have to change what the plan is. So if your plan's not to log it, then just don't log it.
Yeah.
So you can now do it a different way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you just have to shift your mindset.
Exactly.
Of like how you're going to do this. Like, so when you are looking at your food, you like go, okay, I know that like a fistful of meat is, what is it, like the nines thing, or is it
it's the deck of cards or the palm?
I there was one time I was doing one of the nutrition education classes, and someone was like, what about the palm? And I was like, you know what? And I picked like the biggest guy in the class, and I go, like, biggest as in tallest, and I was like, give me your palm right now. And we compared our palms, and his palm was like this big. And I was just like, it's not a fair representation. One of the best things that you can think about is like, I would get a scale. Like, if you ever just want to do this, getting yourself a scale and understanding that like 1 ounce of protein is about 7 grams of protein. So like 1 ounce. Shrimp is about 7 grams of protein. 1 ounce of chicken is about 7 grams of protein. They're all like way different. They're all like, different. So, if you just say, okay, well then I need like anywhere from 3 to 5 ounces of protein so I can get 21 to 35 grams.
Nice. That's an easier way. Cause I did that in the very beginning, because like tracking was like the way that I would really helps me. And so we got the weighing machine, we weighed everything. And it was kind of cool to really see what is 3 ounces.
Yes. And even again, like, even if you just do that for like a week or 2, then you remember what the serving sizes are. We tend to just like sort of drift a little bit, which is fine. Everyone does that.
Yeah. I remember doing Weight Watchers like years ago, and I still remember that an egg is 2 points. Like, it's the weirdest thing that I'm like, okay, that is that many points. Like, that's that. And I'm like, this is probably like 7 years ago that I did this.
Do you, I want to revisit Weight Watchers, because I feel like they've changed their point structure, where things that are now like high protein and low carb are actually like minimal, like 0.
Which makes more sense. It makes more sense to do it that way, because you need those items. Like, you need your protein, and, going lower carb or more healthier options for carbs, is better overall, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Not eating so much processed junk, because that's the way it used to be. Like, the more processed or light or non-fat was like lower calorie than the stuff that was like natural. Like, it was weird.
Right. I mean, really, you could get away with eating, a thing of Arby's French fries and, a piece of cake, and that would be your 30 points, and then you're done for the day.
Exactly. No. And that was like, that's why I was like, this doesn't really make much sense, like for lifetime. And some people have it worked out. Like, some people do great on it. It was not one of my favorites. Like,
I never did the Weight Watchers.
No, it was one of those, like, I hit my top weight, and so I was like, okay, I got to do something, and then drop down and then gain back.
For me, it was admitting that I needed it.
that you needed help.
Yeah. Cause then like, if I went, that means everybody knows that I know that I'm fat. So then I'm not going to go. Cause
that's a really good point. And sometimes we're just not ready to admit that and that might've not been your way of going anyway. Cause if you weren't interested in it, then it wouldn't have worked anyway.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
It would have been
going to meetings with my mom.
Oh.
And this was so long ago. It was during high school. And then guess what? There was a Pizzeria Uno right next door. Where do you think we went for dinner?
That's a great location, dude.
I'm like, what are we doing? But to me, it was very painful because you would go to these meetings and then you would go out to eat and then you were so hyper focused on everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then you just like beat yourself up because you couldn't like do it at a Pizzeria Uno.
Yeah. No, we had this conversation because Mel had 2 slices of pizza.
Yeah.
And she was beating herself up so hard. And I was like, you have to like give yourself some grace.
Well, it just like because I'll be 6 years post-op next month. Yeah. And so when she's talking about that was like a few months ago. And it's like, yeah, because I remember when I couldn't even fit like half a one in there. And so it feels weird to be able to do 2. And yes, like I didn't have those in the same sitting because I can't do that still. But like in my brain, I'm like, there was no reason for you to have the 2. You had the 1, you shouldn't have had the second one. So I just started like spiraling and I was just like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, the honeymoon phase is a blessing and a curse for just that reason, because you get this one like moment in time where you can't fit 2 slices of pizza in, but then over time, things like pizza can go down very easily. And, I will say though, if you love numbers and you're strategic, like those 2 slices, you could get away with that.
I know.
And you know that. That's the whole thing. And when I say get away with it, I don't mean that it's like a terrible thing, like you committed a crime. I mean, like you can calculate to a point where you can say, oh, you know what? Next day, breakfast. Let me do like a piece of fruit, a little omelet with a little bit of low-fat cheese and some, veggies and a piece of like, or whatever, if that's all you can fit, or maybe a low-carb bread or something with it. And then you have like your regularly scheduled meal so that your body can just get back on track. And honestly, your weight management is sort of like an average over the course of a month anyway. So, right?
I like it. That makes sense because she had me log it. So I logged it and it was actually totally fine in my day. And I was like, wow. Because I was literally still at like 1,500 calories and like I still got good protein and whatever. So I'm like, okay, God, I need to stop.
I mean, this all goes back to the trust that we have with ourselves and not trusting ourselves to appreciate and enjoy those 2 slices of pizza.
Yeah.
Get back on track. Like we really feel like, oh my God, what if it is that one moment where I start to regain?
Yes. Yes.
100%. This one that makes me slide. Yeah. It's the scary.
I worry about that every single day. Like every day I worry. And I was very like, it worried me to even eat potato for my first year because I was so scared that I was going to gain weight. And I worry, I'm like, okay, if I eat this, is this putting me back into the mindset of like, that I'm comfort eating or, so I'm constantly like that.
So rebuilding that trust, I think that trust thing is so important because if you can say, you know what, I do trust myself to get back on. And actually, here's my strategy for tomorrow, and being smart about it and, allowing. And I also think that like, if you're going to indulge or have something that is a little bit higher in calories, AKA the pizza, you better take the time to enjoy those pieces of pizza.
Oh, I do that. That's for sure.
I'm saying this like I'm talking to the general
public.
Right? So it's like if you really like enjoyed it and you gave yourself that and you said, you know what? I did that.
Yeah.
Full responsibility. That's great. And you know what? Had a good time doing it. Now I can get back to regularly scheduled programming.
Yes.
Oh, I like it.
Yes. Instead of continuing to beat yourself up for the next week, you're just saying, I'm accepting the behavior.
Yeah.
And then what am I doing tomorrow to make it
exactly? Because exactly. Because what are you going to get out of just like, you can't change that thing that happens. Like,
no.
You can't uneat it.
So, no, you cannot.
It's done.
No.
It's done.
Okay.
Well, I like it. So you're the dietitian for bariatric patients. So do you guys do the 2 week of liquid, or
we don't?
You don't.
You don't. Okay.
Because I didn't have to do it. She had to do it.
I had to do it. Yeah.
So what do you put them on? Anything different?
Yeah. Okay. So our whole thing is that you can get very similar results from doing the 2 weeks of liquid, very low calorie, with doing 3 weeks of low carb and moderate calorie. So the idea is that we want to shrink your liver to make sure that the surgeons, when they get in there, they want to go around your liver and pick it up. So it can't be too heavy. And we know that liver stores glycogen. So if you're eating too many carbohydrates, your liver is going to get bigger. If you're eating out the carbs, your liver is going to get smaller. And I don't usually tell my patients to go 0 carbs. I'll say like anywhere from 50 to 70 grams of net carbs per day, anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 calories per day. And that'll usually do the trick in terms of shrinking the liver enough. And I confirm it with the surgeon as well. And it's not torture. And
that's awesome.
And actually, I will say that I tried to make it a little bit easier with BariBox. We do a 3-week liver shrinkage diet, and of course, it has to be approved by your program. But at the same time, it's still shrinking your liver, and it's basically comes with 3 protein shakes and 2 full meals. That is pretty satisfying. So
that's awesome. That's really cool.
You get like the 3 weeks, and then the subscription cancels after the 3 weeks. That's how it goes.
Oh, I really like that.
Yeah, that makes things a lot easier. But you have it all set up.
Yes.
Prior. Oh, how cool. That'd make it.
Skill power, getting your environment all set up.
Exactly. That's what we tried Flex Pro meals. And they're just, microwave meals that are great on the go. They seem to have really good macros to them.
Well, and they're freshly made. They're
flash frozen.
And we like them. But yeah, like we heard that you have a delivery service, a meal delivery service called BariBox. Is that correct?
Yes. BariBox.
Nice. So how does it all work?
So it all works because it is made specifically for bariatric patients. So we have pre-op meals that are slightly bigger than our post-op meals. And you could do a subscription or a one-time purchase just to try it. We have every 2 weeks, we change our menu. So this week, I'm going to tell you our menu this week.
Yay.
I love it.
Because, why not? And I wanted to, before I do that, I just want to say Flex Pro looks great. And if that's what you want to do, great. But it is a little bit higher in calories and carbs than I would recommend for each meals. So I almost feel like if you're going to spend the money and have the meals already pre-made, how about we make them perfect and a little bit on the lower end than what you would normally eat, like, out, or if you would prepare something and you're not 100% sure if it's like good for that meal. So our meals post-op are no more than 300 calories. They're no more than 15 grams of net carbs, 20 to 30 grams of protein, and no more than 5 grams of sugar, and no more than like 11 to 12 grams of fat. We usually try to make it on the lower end of fat too.
Okay.
But these are pre-made. I mean, what you said about the flex meals, it's pre-made that week, flash frozen, air sealed tight, sent to your house. And so everything's really fresh, which is nice. And it frozen for months on end. And then when you're ready to cook it, you put it in the fridge, defrost. It's best if you defrost it, but you can do it from the freezer. And it's like 2 to 3 minutes in the microwave, or you throw it in a pot of boiling water and you plate it, you're good to go.
Thank you. I was about to ask you because I don't have a microwave by choice. We don't have one. I haven't had one in 5 years, maybe 6 now.
Great.
And so we tried the Flex Pro meals and she's like, do you want to take some? And I'm like, I don't know how to make it.
Yeah. She was like, let me get back to you on that. And I was like, okay, they're just sitting in my freezer. Cause Mel works from my house on Thursdays. So generally we can eat those on Thursdays. But yeah, I was like, do you want to take any of these? Cause I feel like I'm eating them all. And she's like, I don't know how I'm going to microwave them. So that actually.
So you just put it in a boiling pot of water?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause they're in these airtight bags. So you just throw them in and they cook them from the outside.
Nice. So my brain went to like, cause you have to, if you do the microwave, you have to like lift it up a little bit. So I was like, how would I do that if I still have to do the little lifting? But never mind.
So funny.
Never mind.
That's great. Okay.
And they're what's nice is that they're in these bags. You have to plate them. So I know that like some people like to have the pre like packaged, plate, but at the same time, they really feel like real meals when you're plating them. That's true. Not like a lean cuisine, and they also fit very nicely in the freezer because they sort of they're like a little flatter, so you can stack them.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
I was gonna ask about the container because you said that they're in a bag.
Yeah.
Are those bags recyclable? Like, how does that work?
Yes, the bags are recyclable, and all of the shipping material is recyclable as well.
Yes. Great. That's
good
to know.
We're gonna have to try some of these.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Yay.
I'm excited.
I'll look it up.
Yay.
So, okay. So this week, like I said, every 2 weeks we pick a new menu. We are going to start expanding the menu a little bit with some vegetarian options because I know that plant-based lifestyle living is very in right now. I don't necessarily think it's necessary 100% all the time, but that's just me. Okay. So the menu for these next 2 weeks are going to be pulled Peruvian chicken with a cheese sauce and roasted vegetables, a smoked pork with coleslaw, cilantro chicken with cauliflower rice and veggies, a spaghetti squash lasagna, and a Mexican breakfast skillet with some ground beef.
That sounds good.
And then sometimes we'll throw in some of the other menu items that we have, if requested. And that like the last menu was Old Bay Krabby Patties with coleslaw. We had a bunless chicken cheesesteak. We had Korean barbecue bowl, buffalo chicken meatballs, and chicken fritters with a butternut squash puree.
Ooh, dude, these all sound good.
Yeah, they all sound delicious.
Yeah,
like I want them all. Like now.
In my mouth.
In my mouth. Like
in my tummy.
Now.
Yes.
Well, and like for me, like for convenience, because I am recently separate. Well, I'm getting divorced from my husband. So I am a single woman for the first time in 14 years. I don't know how to cook for one, like at all. Like, so I would almost like not eat, or I'll pick something up because it's easier in my brain than having to fix a whole meal that I'm going to eat by myself.
Yeah.
Right.
And so things like the BariBox is great because I can make it just for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Easy. It's already in a bag.
Yeah. Like I microwave it. And like last night we had our live episode. And so by the time I'm driving home and I'm like, I should just pick up dinner. It's going to be easier. And then I was like, no, you have a Flex Pro in your fridge. It's defrosted. Go home and put it in the microwave. And so I just like tunnel visioned myself and went straight home.
Good.
And like it was 2 minutes and it was done and I ate it and I was like, and then I was fine. I didn't even think about it.
Probably felt much better for that, right?
I feel like I didn't feel like I needed to beat myself up.
Yeah, that's like a mental victory.
Yeah. Mental victory.
I'm looking on Flex Pro's
on their website. Yeah, we just now started like learning about like the meals to be sent to your house because we both did HelloFresh, and I don't know, the concept I get, but like I still have the two that I accidentally ordered
from last week.
Yeah, because I don't know, like I don't know what it is about it. Like if they're in the bags, they're all good there. Like I could make it. I don't want to. And I don't know why. It's so frustrating because my husband's like, do you want me to make it? And I'm like, sure. And then he's like, oh, I don't really want to. And I'm like,
yeah.
Like, well, that doesn't help me.
Yeah. It's an extra effort. I know.
Yeah. And like, so if I can get bags and literally boil them and then we plate, holy shit, that's a game changer.
That's what I'm saying. It's easy. I just want, like, that was my main thing. I'm like, I came into bariatrics and people were like, okay, you're teaching me all these things. Like, can you just make the meals for me, please? And I was like, yes, I can. And it took me a little while to figure out how, but that was where this all birthed from. I was like, I need to provide this for people around the US. Like, this is insane that it does not exist. So, so I felt confident enough as like someone who's worked with the population. I'm like, okay, let me just put some specs together, work with a gorgeous kitchen that is local, who the chef is so good. He's amazing. People love his food. It's awesome. And then it's like, oh, I can just enjoy my food. Like, I can like what I'm eating too.
Well, and I like eating. Like, I like eating interesting new food. Like, I like trying new stuff. Yeah. But it's when you're trying to make it yourself, like it's hard. It's hard to do.
And I'm afraid I'm just gonna like make wrong. Like, I know I'm following the instructions. Like, I get it. Like, I'm a baker, I can make food, but also like when I'm done, I'm like, I don't know if I messed it up and it doesn't taste good, or they mess it up and taste good. Like, I don't know which one it is.
And then on top of that, like, if you're just like, well, no, I'm not going to cook, because I have those fears and I'm like, just like, I don't want to waste the time and blah, blah, blah. Then you get like a pre-made frozen meal and it doesn't even taste that great. So that's why I'm pretty proud of the actual quality of the food with BariBox. And I can attest to it and say, it's good.
Yeah. It's good. So, I'm excited to try it.
What made you come up with those numbers that you were spouting out there? What you guys are trying to stay in?
So the calories and the fat.
Yeah. So basically the main numbers for the protein and the carbohydrates, those kinds of things, I actually use like ASMBS and Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They have lots of guidelines that we utilize as dietitians. I have my little pocket guide right here.
I like it.
So that's cute.
Basically I kind of shifted through some of the research on what our caloric needs should be after surgery, and it's all over the place. So I was thinking, okay, well, if I can divvy out the calories for each of the meals, and if you had 3 of those meals during the day and like 2 snacks, then that would equal around the amount of calories that you would need per day.
Okay.
And then the amount of protein, that's, tried and true. You should be getting 20 to 30 grams of protein during your meals. And because you have a very small amount of space, limited real estate, you can't have too many carbs in there to take up that space.
Gotcha.
So what is the amount of carbs that you would recommend for like us? So I'm 2 years out. She's 6 years out, or almost.
Yeah.
So like for us, and especially like I've gained a little bit of weight. So I'm like trying to get back to my maintaining. What is something that like we can use for like losing weight and then maintaining for like low calorie?
It's going to be so different with a lot of people, because what if we're doing, weightlifting or running or dancing, so like it's going to depend on your activity level. And also it's going to depend on like how much you can eat at once. So the BariBox meals are no more than 1.5 cups of food for the one portion. And like if you're eating your protein first, and then you can do about like a couple of tablespoons or something of maybe some grain or whatever with it, then that might only equal like 20 grams of carbs in the whole meal.
Okay.
So for that person, if they can fit in 20 grams of carbs per meal, 2, 4, 6, and then maybe 1 to 2 snacks of like 15, so 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe anywhere from like 90 to 120 grams of carbs for that person.
Okay.
And so exercising a lot, then I would say maybe a little bit more right after their workout.
Okay.
So my question is, so you said, so is that the total carbs or is that net carbs? Because when we were talking to a couple doctors, it's different, right? So what is
I mean, I will always refer to it as net carbs because there are so many products that are low carb products, especially when it comes to like, protein supplements and just anything with like a sugar alcohol or fiber in it can be your net carbs, and it makes it easier to do long term. So, to me, I'm like, well, if it's easier to do long term, then do it.
So you're saying no more than probably around 20 carbs per meal.
Net carbs per meal.
For some people, I cannot. Unfortunately, I can't give like, a total amount for everyone.
Right. Yeah.
Like usually with I have a rule with my patients, and this is like for the general public, of course, in our program. So we have this idea of like 50 grams of net carbs if you're very soon out. And then long term for maintenance, 100 to like 130 grams of net carbs.
Okay.
But then of course, for me, what I'll usually do is if you haven't been logging and you really don't even know how many you're consuming, let's do inventory first.
Okay.
And then if you want to still continue to lose, let's drop down a couple of those numbers.
Okay. So you just do it yourself, just slowly like drop it down until you actually are losing, or if you are maintaining. So that's how you can tell by yourself. What to do.
Because sometimes at the end of the day, for some people, if you're reaching your protein goals and you're getting like a little bit more carbs and you're exercising, like that's great. And it'll actually be better for you because you'll get stronger in the gym and, you'll actually utilize the carbohydrates that you're consuming.
Okay. What kind of good carbs would you recommend?
Like, hold on, is there really good carbs versus bad carbs? Because I feel like we were force fed all these random things about carbs that aren't real. And she quotes a lot of them. I love you to death, but you do.
No, and that's why I'm asking, because I'm like, so what would you recommend as far as a carb that to incorporate into your daily life?
Okay, I have my list in my head of smart starches and slider foods. Sorry, but that's not made up, because can you overeat or even, dare I say, binge on potato chips? Yeah. Can you do that with like a nice little baked potato? You can, I would say I would be 100% less likely to binge on a baked potato.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I make like baked potatoes or like cut up potatoes and then I like air fry them, I don't eat as much. But if I have a bag of potato chips in front of me, I'm going to overindulge on that.
Got you.
Okay. Now let's do another example. Fried rice, white rice, white rice, or like a cheesy rice versus a brown rice with like a little bit of olive oil and garlic. There's a difference.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Sweet potato fries versus somebody doesn't like sweet potato fries or just regular fries. How about that? Versus like a smaller baked sweet potato.
Gotcha.
So, or roasted sweet potato or whatever. So the nutritional value of the things that are higher in fiber and vitamins and minerals, the really complex carbohydrates like your whole grains, 100% whole grain breads and pastas and rice and things like that, beans, corn, peas, all of these really natural foods that have carbohydrates in them are typically going to be more nutritious, satisfying, and not as triggery as a slider food like chips, cookies, crackers, cake, candy. So those they're all carbs. They're all carbs. They will all raise your blood sugar potentially, but one of them will raise it less, and one of them will provide more satisfaction, more nutrition, less,
guilt.
No, we can't be guilty. We can't feel guilty anymore with it.
Well, but I feel like if you're binging, like there's a moment where you have to like be real with yourself. and be like,
100%. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and say you're never going to feel guilty again for eating something, or, that it's really like you should eat as many chips as you want. Like, I'm not going to do that, because I've been there, done that with myself. Mm-hmm. So maybe I'm in the wrong. Maybe I'm not, maybe I'm old school. I don't know, but it just doesn't work for certain people. I've seen too many people go down a route where they're really relying on trigger foods because they don't fill you up as much, and you can eat lots of them, and that's very satisfying mentally to be able to indulge in those kinds of things.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Makes complete sense. I guess I have a question about protein bars. So like carbs and protein bars, like I think because we go back and forth of like, I don't know if this is too much for people. I don't know if it's fine. Like sometimes we'll see 27 carbs in like a protein bar, and we're like, hey, if you minus off the fiber and you minus off the sugars, and there's like 10, so I guess that's fine because that's 10 net carbs, right? Yeah. So that's so as long as
a lot, like with the reason that the carbohydrates are so high is because fiber and sugar alcohols are technically carbs. So they round up into the total of carbohydrates, but because we don't absorb them the same way, and some of them go right through us, literally
sugar alcohols.
Yep.
So those things are not going to impact, our blood sugar and make such a big difference, with that. So I would say that in my opinion, I do think it's okay to go by the net carbs, and again, making your life a little bit easier. If you were to go by regular carbs, no net, how much more difficult would it be to stick to some sort of regimen with higher protein, moderate carbs? Really hard, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you guys could do it, but
I'm thinking. I'm like, no.
I can only hit it if you told me what number to hit.
Yeah,
that's about it.
But for how long? That's the question. You could again. We could do anything for 21 days,
right?
Yeah. And then after that, it's all done.
It's really long term. I don't care. You can. I don't care if you could fast for 3 days straight. It's like, what are we doing here?
Like, cool.
We want to, it's like, you can either go 100%, 0%, or meet yourself somewhere in the middle and just continue to do that long term and still continue to lose weight.
Yeah.
What does sugar alcohols do to us? Like, is there like a certain amount of that we should have in our body or consume in a day?
To be quite honest with you, I have to get back to you on that, because I don't know the top, like the upper limit of sugar alcohols off the top. But it can definitely cause, like, if you're having a lot of it, it can cause GI distress, and you might have already experienced that. I know I have, aka sugar-free where there's hard candy. So
sugar-free pudding.
Yeah, sugar-free pudding. Yep.
So I would always just say follow the if you can follow the serving size or less.
Okay.
I like that idea.
Try not to overindulge on
when they have sugar alcohol.
That some of these sugar-free products are, you're susceptible to overindulging in a sugar-free Reese's peanut butter cup. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Or the Quest peanut butter cups.
Oh, yes. Good. Yes. That's even worse in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. When we do because we do the live reviews on Thursday.
Yep.
There are sometimes we leave that night and I'm like, my stomach was upset all night because we try all these different products and they have sugar alcohols in them. And it's,
Well, and it's funny because I'll come home and the deal is for me, it's like, I know like the timing, right? Because it's like 15 minutes. You got to have timers on the beginning and my brain still registers that. And I'm just like, okay, it's been like an hour since I've been at Kellie's. It can't be in my tummy anymore. Like, this feeling's now in my intestines. This is weird. Like, I don't like it.
And then there's typically it's drawing some sort of fluid into your intestines. So it's like, not feeling so great.
Yeah. No, there was one we tried that we were sick all night. I was sick all night. You were sick for a couple hours.
Yeah. I was sick until I went to bed. And you were sick like in the morning still.
I still had an upset stomach. So
Well, actually, this is good to sort of like peel apart because, does our body want real food? Likely,
It does.
Yeah. And sometimes these replacements for the things that we really want, Reese's, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, that might be okay like once in a while, but really at the end of the day, we might not be doing ourselves a service with just like completely swapping those out all the time if you're just like constantly having a stomach ache,
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? Is to like eat real food. That's what we want. That's what our body craves, is to eat real food.
Yes. Listen to your body.
Yes. It's sometimes very hard. It's hard to come up with ideas of what that real food should be.
Yeah. BariBox.
BariBox.
Yes.
In your life all the time.
What do you put people on after, like right after surgery? Like, do you have them do the 2 full weeks of that liquid at least, or?
I have like sort of 2 options, and I talk to people right after surgery about this, depending on their like how they're healing. So the first week is always full liquid. Like you get home because you're on clear liquid in the hospital. So you come home and you're on protein shakes for your main meals, or like Undri has the protein soups and like all these different things. So as long as it's a liquid and it's a protein, you can use that for your meals, and then in between you're just like sipping on clear liquid so you don't get dehydrated. Do that for the first week. Second week, you can move on to purees if you want to, and I'll usually tell people you don't have to take the tuna and put it into the food processor. Like, don't. If that's going to make you sick to your stomach, please. So you can just like take your fork and mash it up a little bit, just so you can, when you're taking the bites, they're already a little bit mushy. Or we could just do a second week of full liquids if you're just not ready to move on yet, and then bypass the whole purees and go right on to soft foods for a couple of weeks. And then depending on how you're healing, you can sort of like graduate onto the solid foods.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I did 2 weeks of the liquid prior, 2 weeks after. And then she did like puree, soft food, like mixed. So it was like, I was aware of like, I needed to chew really well and like, but it was very like, it was a gray area. It was like, you could go on to soft foods if you wanted.
Yeah.
Like, mine was
really very hard. 4 weeks of liquid.
Yeah.
I can't believe you did that. So
I had one goal at the end of all of it, and that got me to my goal. And so I was like, it doesn't. And after was fine because you're not hungry anyways. Like you don't want anything.
Yeah.
It was the before that was really sucky.
Yeah.
Really sucky.
Well, because I did 2 weeks of liquid after, and then I did 2 weeks of puree, and then I went into soft food for 2 weeks, and then I was graduated into solids. And she said that I can mush around the purees and soft foods, but I was just really scared.
Yeah. And that happens to a lot of people. They're just like more conscious and they put the stop sign up a little bit early. That's fine. Like as long as you're not like jumping ahead super early, like, I've seen it. I've seen people.
We've heard it.
Yeah.
Surprised the shit out of us.
Yeah. We were like, oh, okay. Yeah. You just did that. Okay. All
right. So it's, if you just follow the directions, sort of take it at your own pace, and also just keep in touch with your dietitian, or your team, that's like the best thing you could do, because I've definitely worked with lots of people who are like, I need 1 more week on this, or I need 3 more days on, purees or whatever it might be. And we can extend that out. Absolutely.
Okay.
And you just let people email you questions, or do they have to have an appointment for all that jazz?
Well, no, I sort of work as like, in my own head, I'm like, I work more as like a concierge dietitian, where I am taking emails, messages through Messenger, questions through Instagram. What else is there? How else do you contact people? Oh, through my chart, through the electronic medical records. you can just contact me however you want, especially because there's that moment where you're trying to figure out what you need and how to answer a question. And you're like, oh, I'm alone. And it's like, no, you're not alone.
Yes.
So they can just reach out to me and I get back to them within, anywhere from like a few minutes to 24 hours.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I wish I had something like that 6 years ago. Because like I met my dietitian maybe twice and I never talked to her after.
Yeah. And
at all.
So I'm going to tell you right now, I have worked with people that I've only met with twice also. So there is that sort of like, people have to be wanting to work with a dietitian as well, and that's just like, some people might have not wanted to work with me in particular. I don't know. I'm very like, like I told you before this started up from New York, I yell, so I don't know. It's up to the person to come to their follow-ups, but at the same time, you know what? You're right, because people are not required to see me after surgery. Our program highly recommends it. I reach out to people, blah, 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 but it is not like a strict, like you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah. Like I think it should be, because like I saw my like Dr. Patterson on like the 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. Like I did the whole thing for a good like 2 years. But I didn't once get a phone call from my dietitian or a check-in or anything.
Right. So that's an sort of an issue, I guess, with like, I think that there's other things at hand there, because there's like accreditation and all of this other stuff for surgery centers, and like meeting with a dietitian afterwards is not part of that accreditation. So it's part of it before, maybe not after for everyone. So I definitely recommend it. I push it. I'm like, hey, reach out to me anytime. But they are required to see our nurse practitioner at like the 1 week, 8 weeks, 6 month, 1 year. So that structure is always there, which is nice.
That is awesome.
I did talk to my nutritionist. Yeah. My registered dietitian after surgery. So I talked to her at like 6 months. She like checked in on me and was like, we had a conversation of that carbs scared me, and because they did. And she was like, okay, try like a bite of potatoes, see how that goes, and then move on. And I was like, I just don't know if I'm ready. So then we revisited the conversation at 1 year. And she was like, okay, now you really have to start eating some carbs, because I wasn't eating like 0.
Yeah, it was
like 20 to 25 grams of carbs.
Okay, so you were very low.
Very low.
Yeah. And that's why I'm like, her carb situation, like, I'm like, dude, this is not bad for you. Stop it.
Yeah.
Even when we do reviews, she'll read it and she'll be like, it's kind of high in carbs. I'm like, don't do that. No, it's not.
Yeah.
That's in your brain. But but actual math wise, it's fine.
And then not even in that very moment, but like long term, let's say, you're on this like very, very, very low carb thing for so long. And then all of a sudden you like feel so deprived that you over introduce carbs.
And that's where I'm at now. That exactly what you're talking about is exactly where I'm at now.
So now we got to get like an average in between like the low and the high. So you come back in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a rubber band. You need to like come back.
Yeah. I need to be pulled back into like where I was before, but not as strict. Like I need to find a happy medium of between like normal people carbs and my low carb, like somewhere in there. Yeah. Cause that's what happens is I deprive myself. And then I overindulge because I've deprived myself for so long.
Right. It's a cycle.
Exactly. And I'm noticing that the cycle is happening. Like, I mean, I have definitely been eating my feelings the last few months. Like that's just been happening. And I need to like pull myself back out of that.
Yeah. And I think it's worth noting though, that you're going through a major life change. I mean, this is like, in a way very traumatic and, probably a lot of emotions are coming up. And recognizing that and talking to a therapist and blah, 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 you know, the deal.
Yes.
But also finding a different outlet, you know, besides food is always a great idea. But then it's like, okay, well, then what? Like, what is the outlet?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Then that's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's like, I've eaten my feelings for 3 months. I've fallen off of like my plan and everything, but I'm not healing myself by doing those things.
Right.
Like I'm actually like, because I have autoimmune diseases. And so when I start eating more sugar, more carbs, it tends to inflame my body along with the stress of already being in a divorce.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm hurting myself by doing these things.
Right.
And so I'm having to like snap myself back into where I was before.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes it does take a little while to see sort of like the backlash of those new habits that you formed. Because weight doesn't come on immediately.
No.
If it did, we wouldn't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you could see it immediately, then we wouldn't do it. It's like the instant gratification thing.
Right. Right. But then again, you know, after you eat the sugar and the this and the that, it's not like you after one of those, you know, food indulgences, you say, you know, oh, I feel so good. I feel great that I ate that, you know?
Yep.
But after a healthy, you know, a healthier meal, you will say, oh, you know what? I'm glad I ate that. So, so it's in the moment. We have this like present bias that in that very moment, our body and our brain just wants the more comforting thing. So that's where the 20 minutes come from. If you can get past that present bias, then you're better off.
I love it.
That's what I need to do is just like distract. Cause I'm a
distraction.
Yeah. Like I need to like figure out something else to do.
So let's not even call it an outlet. Let's call it a distraction.
Yeah. Just distract yourself for 20 minutes. Like what I read is that people will just like, they'll go get their laundry out of the dryer and they'll bring it into the room and they'll start randomly doing stuff around the house that needs to get done for the 20 minutes. And then now they forgot about they wanted the food and now they finished a chore or a project and they feel good about themselves.
That's a great idea.
That dopamine effect, right?
Yeah.
That the food would have given you. Plus, you're out of the kitchen.
Yeah. Get yourself out.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't look at that door or that fridge.
Yeah. No, I really like that idea. Because I always have laundry to do.
Yes, you do.
So I always have laundry. And it's always just sitting in baskets in my room. So that's actually a really good idea. When I feel hungry at night, like snacky, just fold my laundry.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna add one more layer onto that.
Okay.
Your laundry, but also listen to your favorite music or your favorite podcast, or, you know, watch, like have something in the background that you like, because carrying that fun thing will also make you want to do the laundry because you're like, oh, if I do the laundry, I get to listen to that podcast.
Yep.
So then you're really going like crazy in your mind, but at the same time it works.
Well, and you're also raising those God. No, raising those dopamine because you're doing something that's making you happy, right?
Makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Because like that's I'm not trying to toot my own horn or humble brag over here, but that's kind of what I do is I'll throw up a podcast. A lot of it, it's Whitney Cummings or it's the Your Mom's House stuff. Like I throw it up there and because they're comedians and they make me laugh. So while I'm laughing, I'm putting away the laundry. And one night I told Kelly, I was like, yeah, I did it at 11 o'clock at night. And she's like, why would you do that?
Like, why are you doing laundry at 11 o'clock?
I was like, I don't know. Like, I just like, I need to do this. So like, I just popped the podcast on and like avoided the dessert that I was really trying to have.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is actually called, I want to make sure I'm saying this right, temptation bundling.
Temptation bundling.
Oh,
I like that.
So if you bundle something you enjoy with something that you dread.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's actually what I read. I just didn't know the name of it. How funny.
Yeah.
You pair it with something you don't like with what you like.
Huh.
Yeah.
And then your brain just starts associating it with like the thing that you don't like with that.
Whoa. Okay. So like if you're listening, so if you dread doing your workout, but you're listening to music that you love during the workout, it's going to,
I'll say, or our podcast,
or a podcast, or a random podcast with two girls that are just wackadoodle, you know? No, that makes a lot of sense. It does.
Yeah.
That's why we love doing this podcast.
We learn so much.
And like the light bulbs go off and you're like, I can do that. I can totally do that.
Yeah, it's fun.
And it's exciting because you're like, oh, I've got a whole new plan now.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm really excited.
Well, I know I have to ask you this question, or our followers would probably be like, what the hell, you two? So they all want to, they want to talk about the proteins.
Yes.
So what's the best protein? What's the order of the proteins? What should like an average bariatric patient have for protein?
Okay, so I'll usually recommend in general, because I always have to give a general number, and then if I'm working with someone one-on-one, we can sort of tweak that. But I'll usually tell my patients to, at the very least, get 70 to 100 grams of protein. So in the ASMBS per day. ASMBS guidelines, they say they used to say 60 to 90. They said you can get up to 100. So I made it 70 to 100, something to shoot for. And and then, wait, what was the other question? What's the best protein?
The levels. Because people are like, well, I have to isolate and I have to have whey, or I can't have
it has to be amino acid something. So we just want to make sure that we're hitting all the
levels of protein.
Okay. So first off, the best protein is the ones that you can get from your food. And especially because with protein shakes, as we know, they're really great, easy ways to get protein when you're in a rush. And like, if you're just like not hungry and you haven't eaten for like 5 hours and you're like, I know I need my protein, that's great. But if you're using it as like a meal replacement, then you're risking the fact that it's a liquid and it doesn't sit in your stomach for a long time. So you actually, it'll rid your stomach and you'll get hungrier quicker.
Gotcha.
If it's a liquid.
Okay.
So I'm fine with like my patients having protein shakes if they want them, but that's the warning of, hey, it might not fill you up like for too long. Now I usually recommend isolate as the top protein. And then like concentrate. And actually it's funny because I'm like in this book, they basically list out all of the proteins, like the caseinate and the hydrosylate and all of this. There are even calculators online where you can plug in like all the amino acid profile and the type of protein in it, and you can get like a number, you know. But as long as you are getting, I would say, most of your protein through solid foods in your diet, then that's great.
Okay.
I usually recommend isolate as the number one top, and
for liquid.
For a protein shake or meal replacement. And then concentrate is usually the second one. And then there's sometimes like combinations of isolate and concentrate, and that's pretty good too.
Okay.
Okay.
I like the levels of that. And then of course I'm gonna have to ask about the collagen situation.
Collagen situation.
So like, cause there's a bunch of collagen companies, because I get it. Like we need that I feel like I need that as a bariatric patient, because of like, I did have dry hair like for a long time, and like the growth was definitely a problem. Skin being dry, being in like colder climates, like I don't want my skin to look dry.
Well, and Ronak, the CEO of Avi, said that after a certain age, you start to lose collagen. Naturally. Yeah.
Oh, well, then we've already started.
Another thing to look forward to.
Low number.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But I mean, he was like, you naturally lose it. So, I mean, so it can't hurt to like put it back in your system.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
And then, so what ends up happening is we don't know how much we're absorbing, you know, and that's for a lot of stuff. But it's not, you know, a lot of the research that's available on collagen is self-described research, like self-reported. My skin feels more tender, or my hair feels more luxurious, whatever. It's self-reported, so it's not like tested in a lab. And then a lot of these things don't have to go through FDA approval, and you know, it's not really highly regulated. So I usually don't say do this one product or this one product. I will say, if you want to take collagen, it's likely not going to hurt you. And if it's making you feel like your hair is shinier or your gut is a little bit better or whatever it might be, then take it. Then take it. That's fine. And full disclosure, I take collagen. I take collagen.
Right.
Yeah, it's not Obvi collagen, but it is a collagen powder that I put into my coffee or my yogurt. So, and to me, I feel better taking it. I don't think that it's doing anything magnificent to me. I think that it's I think it's a nice product, but I don't think it's changing my life.
Okay.
I do think that a lot of the collagen that I should be getting should be through my food. You know, things like bone broth and animal proteins have a lot of collagen in them.
I was about to ask, what kind can you get? So basically like the meat proteins have a lot of collagen in them.
Yeah. Naturally have that.
So if you're eating more protein in your diet, you're automatically going to get collagen.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And not just protein, just animal like food protein.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Cool. And then is there like, I said cool really weird like that. Sorry.
You did, but that's fine. I was just gonna let you roll with it, but you're the one that called yourself out.
That's weird. Is there a certain amount of collagen that anybody over 30 should probably have to like help out with the loss that we're having, or is that not your wheelhouse? I don't know.
I don't know the exact like milligrams or percentage that you should have in your diet. That again, I would have to get back to you.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Like and then can we count the protein that is in collagen? Because Obvi, it has the protein and the collagen. That's kind of their thing, is that they have both of them together.
Yeah.
Can the average person count that protein into their daily
protein goals?
Yeah.
Right. So typically I would say, before this conversation, I would say, if you're just going to have collagen, likely not it's not a complete protein and it might not serve you to count it towards your protein goals. However, if you have a protein powder that happens to have the collagen in it and it's made out of whey concentrate and you have 20 grams of protein in there and you already know maybe like 8 grams of that is collagen, then just count the 12 grams. We don't know exactly how much we're absorbing anyway. So we can average it out. We can say, are we at least hitting maybe like anywhere from 60 to 70 grams of protein at least? Then we're probably
okay. And we can always add our collagen to so say we're doing a meal replacement shake.
Yeah.
We could always just add that powder into that shake, and then you're getting both essentially.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
And then you can say, I'll count the 20 grams from just my protein powder, and you could do both. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's kind of what my thought was, but I just want to make sure that was correct.
Yeah. Well, because the biggest misconception, I wouldn't say misconception, but understanding was when we were doing the live for Obvi, they were just saying like, hey, that's, we're not sure if that can count towards our goals. But when we looked at the Obvi stuff, there is a whey concentrate in there. So that's why you just minus off whatever the collagen is. And that's how much protein you're actually getting in those doses.
And you know what? It's all average anyway. We're just guesstimating anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So does it, at the ends of the day, does it matter if maybe like 10 of those grams overall in the whole day we're not absorbing? Probably not. But especially if that's what you're focusing on for most of your meals.
Okay. All right.
I like it. Is there anything that you can think of that we've had questions on that we were supposed to ask her?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. I know that we had a lot of questions of carbs, protein, that type of thing. And I'm glad we got to talk about BariBox because I can't wait for that. It's going to be, I'm excited to try the meals because they all sound amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just want to say, anyone that's listening to this, a lot of these things that I recommend, yes, they're based on like ASNBS and Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics recommendations, but a lot of them also come from like patient experience, because every patient is so different. And like maybe, certain carbs work amazing for some patients and certain don't, so everything is a little bit flexible. So I wouldn't take anything to heart until you talk to your own dietitian, really.
Okay. And I mean, as we always, we have our thing in the beginning of the episode that always says, if you're going to change anything, talk to your surgeon, talk to your dietitian. No, we don't want you to get hurt. So
not a doctor.
We are not doctors.
No.
We did not go to school for that.
No, I could do your taxes. That's about it.
And I can help you with your teeth cleaning. That's about that's my extensive
I would
knowledge.
love both of those things to be done. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, your schedule, to hang out with us, answer all of these random questions. And I learned so much about like nutrition and you that like I love. Like
We're so excited.
This is gonna be like a whole new like friendship going forward, I think.
I'm 100% in to this friendship.
Yes. Yeah. You can't get rid of us now.
Nope.
That's it. We're stuck.
Yeah, we're stuck to your side.
I also really appreciate you taking the time for me to be able to promote BariBox. It is a very new company, you know, and everyone knows with new companies, you do need support. So, and I just want to make sure that everyone knows, like, we're doing something for the community just to give you an option, you know, and hopefully you enjoy it.
Yay!
Yeah, so
check out BariBox. They're on Instagram. It's BARI box. And Jana, you are absolutely amazing. And so many light bulbs went off this episode. I'm so excited.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me. I really, really had a good time.
Yay!
Well, thank you.
All right.
You know what? If we ever have more questions, we might just have you on for part 2. I think this is what we do with people from Baltimore. We're like, we have to keep you around.
Yeah. Can we just we're just going to reel you in and we'll just
I'll come right over.
Yay. All right. Thank you so much, Jana.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
We'll talk soon. Bye.
Thank you.
All right.
That was Jana.
Yeah, she is awesome.
She's so just real. And that was what was cool. It wasn't like so clinical. It was just like a chat.
It really was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like we were just sitting down talking about.
No, just keep going and we'll let her in.
It's just talking about normal food. And that's what we needed.
Seriously. So go check her out right now. Check out the BariBox. And we are going to check out the BariBox as well. So look out for our lives and the stories and everything. So we appreciate you guys and we will see you
next time. Bye.